Hey, this is Dave with OC Astronomy, and we're installing our new shutter kit on our Nexdome, and I haven't seen a whole lot of instructional videos out there about how to go about doing it. There are some instructions online at the Nexdome site and in the forums, but I just thought I'd provide this and see if it might help anybody out. So the first thing is these guys. These little straps are going to mount like this to keep the rooftop online, and you can see the spacing of the bolts on the ends. It matches up with, on the inside here, it matches up with this bolt and this bolt behind me. And what those bolts are, they're bolts that are permanent, and they're holding on the pieces of the clamshell. And the way that this is going to work is the bolt will come through that hole and be secured right here where that nut is. That will let the piece itself extend over the top of the shutter, and that'll kind of clamp down on the top of the shutter to keep it from blowing off. It's going to be a great addition. Right now, the shutter's only held on by the wheels, and you can see this wheel behind me. So it basically only has the four corners of the top piece are held down, and this will hold down the four corners and then have a bridge over the top of it that clamps down and keeps it on. So hopefully during strong winds, that'll keep it from blowing off. So we'll install that, and we'll install the other shutter piece, and then next we'll move on to installing the shutter track and the motor itself. All right, we'll see you in a minute. So a couple of notes about installing these straps that are going to help hold down the roof tile that's in the center. One, you notice my predicament. I have to be on a ladder here in the center of the dome in order to reach it. It's because this one is really hard to get to. You would have to either have somebody outside leaning up against the dome to get it, or like I'm doing, I can reach from one side with my electric screwdriver drill, and then on the other side I can hold the nut so that I can install that particular bolt. And you see how it works. One bolt goes and replaces the nut that was here, and then this thing rides in this channel, and it actually is designed, it has a little bit of movement in it, and it has these washers, and the washers are there to keep it, to bridge this gap that would have been there before. So those washers are kind of there to fill that spot. So how this will work is this will trap down, like it's doing now. It'll trap down that piece that's going to slide in there, and it'll keep it from blowing off the top. Now I felt your screams of a few of you whenever I started doing this, and I had my scope still set up. So don't worry, don't fret. I did take the scope down and put it safely aside. I'm going to go ahead and clean it and stuff in preparation on mounting it on the new mount. I'm going to give it a thorough cleaning. So I did remove that out of the way before I started working on this stuff that's overhead, just so nothing from up above doesn't fall down on top of the scope and give you a pretty expensive whammo. So a couple of notes there, and let's keep going. So I thought I would make a note about installing these shutter pieces and the piece of plastic that goes between them. So it's kind of important which order it goes in. If you notice, this piece down here has the two holes drilled in it. If you don't have the shutter kit, that's where the handle would go. And if you have the shutter kit, that's where the motor and the bracket will go that sit down at the bottom. And normally that will be the end that's down, sitting at the edge of the rim of the dome. Then this is the center piece. It has the holes drilled in it here and on the other side to fasten the strap. Now, something about the strap I learned, I actually I've installed that side. I've reinforced it with Gorilla Tape, and Gorilla Tape is a wonderful thing. And now the Gorilla Tape is sitting across all of this and holding it to the side. so that whenever the thing slides back and forth, you're not just depending on those 2 points of contact, and it's worked for me quite a bit. So, and then the other tip is you want to install this side first, and then you can slip this piece through the hole and slip this piece under it, and then install this side, and then you'll be able to together. You don't have the lip installed on this side yet, the handle, and you just feed it through from the back side. You feed it through the wheels on top of the dome and gently put it into place, and then you can put your handle on once it's installed. And all I had to do was walk around the back and take the 2 new pieces and shove them up under the wheels and push a little bit, and it kind of guided itself onto the track. There's one right here and one right there, and then just pushing the piece in there, it slid right in there and caught on that new little guide, and it works pretty well. So it's no problem at all. Now what I'll do is I'll just close the shutter, and we'll install the motor piece. And so we'll install the motor here, and then we'll put the new the track for the garage door type thing along this inside lip, and that's where that's going to go. So we'll come back here in just a little bit and see if we could put the finishing touches and put the shutter motor on. Yay! Well, I've discovered something important about this shutter install and the Nexdome shutter kit. It really is a 2-person job. I was trying to do it myself just because I had some time to do it today, but and everything's gone really quickly. But there is one problem. It makes it impossible to do with 1 person. You really have to have 2, and it's this. This is the garage door track, and you'll notice it has these standoffs on the end of it. And what you're supposed to do is unscrew those standoffs from the track and install them. They go right here, and then they also go. One of them is right up there. And then another one, though, is on this back wall. See if I can, right up there. Hard to move, mirror image. But that screw that I'm pointing at right there, you're supposed to replace that nut with the standoff. You can see how the 2 of those there have to go here and here. You have to have those standoffs in place. And the only way to do that is you have to have somebody on the outside drill to loosen that screw, and somebody on the inside to hold the nut, because it has a nylon piece in it that keeps you from being able to I mean, sometimes if you have an electric drill type screwdriver, you can just go and you can undo it really quickly just using the I guess the inertia of the nut. But this has a nylon piece in it that keeps it from spinning. So you have to have somebody on the inside hold it with a pair of pliers, and then somebody on the outside to drill it out. So I can't be a lone wolf today. I've got to go get some help to do this. But it's good to know before you get started. In order to get finished and at least to install the track, you're going to have a second person if you're going to replace that nut with the standoff. Good to know. So there's 2 things immediately that jump out to me about this shutter being helpful for the wind. One is these inside grooves. They look like some kind of plastic or Teflon that'll help guide it in this channel and keep it from coming out. But it also kind of serves as a hook inside there. There's one on either side, and they kind of hook around this lip. That's definitely going to help keep this thing from blowing. The other is, this is a metal piece. It's aluminum, and this is the same aluminum over here with the gears and stuff. It's going to be nearly impossible for this thing to break in such a way that it allows the shutter to be pulled out. I mean, the shutter itself is going to break before this metal bends enough to get pulled out. And the last thing is the weight of it. This has a battery pack in it, and it's quite sturdy. You'll see there, just with the little movement, the thing wants to close on its own. And so just that by itself is going to be a lot of help in keeping it down. So now the center roof panels have those guides in place that's going to keep the center from popping out. And then this has this metal piece, those two little hooks that are in there, and then the weight of it. So I think between all this, the wind is not going to be a match for it. I have every confidence in the shutter staying on now. All right. Okay, so I've made a little bit of progress in installing the Nexdome shutter kit, but I have learned some important lessons. One, you need a friend. In my case, my lovely wife came out and helped me to be able to get this standoff installed. The second thing is order matters. So I put the shutters in before I got to that standoff screw, and it turns out it's under the lip. So I had to actually take this corner wheel off, and I had to take the track out enough to be able to get to the top of the screw, to unscrew it, to loosen the nut, to install the standoff. And so it would have been a whole lot easier if I had done that before I put the shutter in place and put the motor on. So you want to put the standoffs on while you have the shutter off, and you can stand up in the middle on your step ladder and get to that. It's a whole lot easier than if you've done it after you put the shutter on. So standoffs first, shutter second. The next thing is, due to some manufacturing tolerances and stuff, I get it, because everything's a little bit different, you know, between your tolerances. So on this track, though, it comes pre-drilled with a hole in it, and it's supposed to hit this standoff, but it doesn't. When it bends into place, the distance isn't quite right. So I'm gonna have to drill another hole, and I hope that the proper distance isn't actually gonna eat into that hole. It may be that I wind up with a big oval there. I don't think it'll matter if I'm just putting a screw here that's going to keep it from going side to side, I think, is the main thing. So it doesn't matter if I elongate that and have a screw with a washer on it to hold it in place. But you see that this stuff has some flex to it, and I've got to flex it into place here. And whenever I flex it into the curve, I need to be able to hit this hole. And right now the hole's not lined up, so I'm going to have to drill another one. And then the last part is, as I'm trying to install the track, and I can't get this screw to hit the standoff because let's see if I can find it here. There. So the motor on this metal plate is going to be great to hold it in place, but for right now, this bump and then this inner lip are competing with each other. And right now this lip is winning. You can see I've tried to hack at it with a pocket knife, but I'm gonna have to go back and get a carpet cutter or a razor blade knife to trim right in here, because right now it's not allowing it to slide over enough, and so this screw won't line up with the standoff. I can't push it any further together than that, and so I'm gonna have to eat out a little bit of this area here, and then the whole thing can slide over enough to where I can screw that into the standoff. It's not going to affect anything because it's just this lip at this bottom lip, and the outside of the shutter is covering that area. So it's not like it's going to be letting any wind or rain blow in there. It's just that this lip overlaps because this is a metal piece. There's no give in it, and so it's not allowing it to fit. So I'm going to just attack that with a utility knife and carve out some of that, do a little bit of whittling, and then that'll let me push the motor over and finish installing that. So I'll just have to screw another hole on that end, and then I think that will allow me to center up this track really nicely. And once it's screwed in there, I should be good to go. So yeah, order matters, and it's good to have friends. Yay!